All right. Welcome back to another episode of Sunday Snack, which is
Hey,
sometimes Sunday, sometimes snack. Sometimes it's on Saturdays. Sometimes this one will actually be released on Sunday. So it's a Saturday snack with a Sunday delivery. Okay.
that's
I'm slightly delirious. I just got done helping shoot a wedding, and those use all my brain space. So, hello, Isaac. How are you?
hello, Annette. I'm fantastic. How are you?
I am great. I am fabulous. I'm back to work, which is nice because there was like a little bit of a delay in my working, and now I feel like I'm actually doing stuff again, and that's pretty awesome. What are we talking about today?
Well, we have like how many weeks to catch up on?
Like,
We've
and it's
both been,
only one, but I think it's three.
I think that's the thing is that, we are going back to work and which is fantastic because we have that like some sense of normalcy back in our lives and we're not just sitting and waiting and trying to figure out what to do with our free time.
Right.
Uh, but with that comes the burden of maybe not being able to keep up on things as much as we would like to do, though we are still keeping up on the things that are important.
Right. Exactly. All the
Uh,
things that are important, they're just not in the exact timely. I need to be better. That is one huge thing that I need to work on is like consistency of like, okay, if it's scheduled for Sunday, you stick with Sunday. If it's scheduled for Monday, but like as a freelancer, I'm like, I don't know how to do that.
no, it's totally, I understand it. Same. Like we talk about doing these every Sunday, and then uh, instead of just having it like a set, like 8 o'clock a.m. or 12 o'clock or 7:30 p.m., like we just
Right.
kind of wing it.
Well,
And
it's hard because like tomorrow, for example, well, it's usually me. I'll take the blame for that because like a couple times I've been driving the bus, and then a couple times like my schedule is always dependent on other people. So like Sundays are the days that I really like to have off. But like tomorrow I'm going kayaking, and then tomorrow night I'm doing a shoot, and then I was driving the bus a couple times, and I went to Iowa, and then I saw my family, and I'm like, oh, okay. And it wouldn't, if they could make it to where Zoom records while you're driving, I would like that. I could get so much done.
well, I can take the blame for being more selfish and wanting Sundays because I'm off on Sunday.
Well, I'm usually off on Sundays, but it's like, well, I say that and then no, that's not true. I actually worked last Sunday too. So, whatever. Oh my god, I cannot get comfortable.
Well, what's been happening? What's new? What have you been up to? You've been driving the bus. You have relocated the bus, correct?
Yes. So, the bus is now in Shelbyville, Tennessee. For those, if somebody's listening to this, which if you haven't listened to any other podcast and you're somehow popping in on this one, go back and listen to some other episodes. But we're doing a bus conversion, a 35-foot school bus conversion into a tiny home and mobile photo studio, podcast studio. So eventually these podcasts will come live to you from the back of a gigantic school bus. So I moved it from Georgia. So I had to get back to work. Like I had to come back to Nashville so I could work. And that was like 3.5 hours away. So the bus is now in Shelbyville, which is about an hour south of Nashville. And I found this guy, Dan, and he is Dan Messinick. He is at the Messy Journey on Instagram. He does bus conversions and stuff. So a lot of the work that is getting done right now is actually done by him, and I'm paying him. So I haven't worked on the bus as much. Like I went and did like some small things, but a lot of it is carpentry right now. And so he has the tools to be able to build like cabinets and a bench and a bed and stuff. And sometimes when I'm out there, I feel like I'm just in the way. Versus I'm like, would you get this done a lot faster if I wasn't here and you could just concentrate on your numbers and everything? And he's like, yeah. So it's kind of like, it sucks because I want to work on it, but I also want it done. And then I'm also like, okay, if you're working on it and I'm actually doing shoots, like it kind of balances itself out. So there's still going to be a lot of work for me to do, But this week, like he just went and got like 1,000 pounds of lumber so he can finish. Like I'm trying to put as much storage everywhere in there. So like every nook and cranny is like a cabinet or something you can put something into. Because if I'm going to live in it for a year, I have about, I don't know, a lot of clothes and a lot of shoes. Other than other than that, I could probably minimize that, but I don't want to. So that is the status of the bus. Still, I'm going to try to do a short trip on Labor Day weekend to go up to Iowa and back. So the longest I've driven so far is 4 hours. This will be a 11-hour trip. And so I'm going to have to break it up into either 2 days or 3 days. And then it'll be my first like overnight staying in the bus. It won't have propane or water yet, but it's a little nerve-wracking.
Would you say that you're becoming more comfortable driving the bus?
Yes, on open road, like city driving, I wouldn't say I'm as comfortable yet, just from turning like right and left. Like the turns are where it gets a little hairy, just because I mean it has a lot of swing around, and then it also I don't know, you can't see the people right next to you. I mean, you kind of can, but it's like, I'm getting better at it. But overall, I think I'm getting more comfortable. I just always want to make sure that other people are safe. So like, I don't tailgate people at all. Like you can't do it, because the stop on that it's air brakes. So stopping is definitely different. And then it's very heavy. So it takes a lot to make it stop. But it's really pretty. Like it is coming along even better than what I had thought. I'm still like, we're probably like $15,000 shy of finishing it. And that's like solar. Solar's like $8,000. And I'm trying to find a company that would want to sponsor that. So if there's anybody listening right now that has anybody that's a solar sponsor or solar or wants to be a solar sponsor, have them contact me. You could be a sponsor of the next episode. Speaking of that too, we need sponsors for episodes. I'd like to tag them in. Yeah, so that's the progress so far. Yes.
It sounds like you had a goal to finish it definitely much earlier, but it seems like maybe that extra little time being taken to finish the bus is actually for a good reason.
Yeah, it'll make it better. Like it's not like I can't do the project without the bus. The bus just makes it to where it can be super convenient and together. But in all honesty, like I don't think the trip itself is going to start until next year. I mean, one, it's not funded yet, and two, like it needs to be planned out. But it's like the chicken and the egg. Like, do you build the bus? Like, I can't have a road trip till I have a bus, but I can't schedule a road trip till the bus is done. So it's kind of, I don't know, it's a catch-22, but it's in the works. But it's a lot better as opposed to it being rushed. It's getting more than what I had originally thought it was going to have. So it's pretty cool.
So you have you mentioned that you have a couple of podcasts that are recorded and are about to be released, correct?
Yes. So yesterday, and this actually is a great idea too, because yesterday I did a corporate headshot for a woman in the morning, and she had looked at my website and then saw the Beautiful Strength Project, and she was like, "Oh, tell me more about this. I want to participate." So I did her shoot in the morning, and then what she paid for to have the studio, I had extra time in that studio that didn't take as long with her. So I invited 2 different people that I knew into the studio, which I think would be a great idea going forward, is like, hey, would you like to sponsor a shoot? You get headshots, and then we have studio time. So I interviewed 2 different people. One is Aaron Graham. He is an artist, a local artist in Nashville. And he actually, the entrepreneur program that I took 8 weeks ago or whenever it was, I don't know. It's been a long time. I think it started in March. So like 3 months ago. He won the pitch series last year or the year before. He does artwork from like his perspective as a kid. And it is like awesome artwork. And like, he is a full-time artist. He also does graphic design. His wife is a full-time artist, but he's coming up. So I'm releasing his on Tuesday. So that'll be Tuesday, let me pull up my calendar so I say it correctly. The 24th. So August 24th. Aaron's will be released. And then the following Tuesday, which is going to be on the 31st, is a girl, Chrissy. And I met her a few months ago, or almost a year ago, I bet, if not a little bit longer. She is just a badass chick. She'll talk about sex trafficking, abuse, and recovery, but she focuses on the like healing side of it. But it's a pretty moving interview. And I had her, she's already been in the project like a year ago, and I did a photo of her and I loved it. And then she did another one because I was like, well, you're here. I'm like, we should update your photo. And so we did another photo and then went out to lunch, and like, she's a gem of a person. So she's had one hell of a life. So that'll be released on the 31st. And I think that's all the podcasts I have recorded. I put a post out the other day of like, who would like to be on the podcast? And I had a lot of people like it's really funny to me because people will be like, oh yeah, pick me. And I'm like, awesome. And they're like, what is it? And I'm like, you might want to look at the podcast before you're like, hey, put me on. Not that everybody doesn't have a interesting story, but I just thought it was kind of funny because I was like, have you looked at it? Like, look at the project first, then be like, yeah, I want to do that. But I had like, I don't know, 20 or some people that responded that want to be on it. And I want to get to everybody. I just am like trying to figure out one, like different things that go along with the year calendar of like what's being released. I think like I want to interview a girl that about childhood cancer, because September is childhood cancer. But there's also like every month has like 10 different things. Like I really want veterans for November. There's just like various different things, but I will try to get to everybody. But I feel like people are probably like, she puts that out there and then she doesn't respond. I'm like, yeah, because there's like 50,000 things to do. Like, I don't know if you can see, does that go to my desktop? No. Can you see all those Post-it notes? They're all like action items of stuff that I have to do by Monday. So yeah, but podcasts, lots of cool things coming up. Lots of, there's a lot of networking stuff going on right now of just behind the scenes that people don't see, that I am working on getting people. So as much as I know everybody wants to participate, which is great, but I also want to make sure that we're talking about diversity and we're showing diversity in the podcasts that we do. Like, I am white, and so I feel like I have a lot of white people around me. That sounded weird how I just said that. Like my whole time, my entire family is white. So if I put my whole family who wants to be on the podcast on it, they're all white people and they all look like me and they all have very similar experiences. So I want to make sure that we are showing a wider,
that's WIDER, wider.
Wider. Yeah, not whiter, wider. Wider. We're going to be wider. Demographic. That's the word I was looking for. So, and I want to make sure that all voices are heard. So even if it's like, hey, cool, yeah, I want to record you, but it might be 3 months from now because we have these in front. So I got the contact information for a Hispanic Heritage. I didn't know Hispanic Heritage is in October, I think. I should look into that a little bit more, but just a wide variety of stuff. And I think you have only hosted one, so I think it's your turn. You need to host them.
Well, I have a lot of Hispanic friends.
Well, it doesn't have to be Hispanic. I'm just saying, like, you can do anybody. Like, you can host, you can have anybody on that you want.
Um, yeah, I mean, one of the cool things about being a hairstylist is that I have such a wide variety of clients, and we all share that intimate moment together in the chair where, you know, I know my clients, I know that they have stories to tell. So
Right. Maybe you
I,
should just start doing that.
I
Put a
definitely,
microphone up and just be like, these are going to be
I bought
Isaac
lapel,
in the chair. Uh-huh.
I bought lapel microphones. It's perfect.
Did you?
Have a seat, and then this is your mic.
You should totally do that. You're already there. Like, it just has
I'm,
to be like live action.
I'm gonna have to figure out how to
You'd have to have them sign a waiver.
into 30 minutes.
Well, they don't have to be 30 minutes. Regular interviews are like an hour. These are supposed to be 30 minutes, and we never make it. So,
But my haircut appointments are 30 minutes. That's what I'm saying.
oh, well, sit down, get right to it.
We can just go have a coffee,
Yes.
sit by the water, sit by the beach. Well, yeah, I mean, definitely. I loved interviewing Lance and Mo. It was so much fun, and I don't know, the connections that you get to create with people, listening to their stories and just finding out everything about them there's nothing like it.
Yeah. It's kind of cool because a lot of these interviews, like, and I say it, I'm like, it's not my story to tell. Therefore, this is going to be you, and you're going to be talking the majority of the time. I may say, I feel like I'm saying, oh, right. Oh, wow. A lot. But I'm like, usually people will just keep talking, and I'm like, I'm not going to interrupt you unless there's like a weird, awkward silence or something like that. But I just want, it's basically like hit record, tell me your story, and I'll listen to it. Like, I want you to read to me almost if it's a book of your life or something like that. So yes, that is what is coming up. And then who knows what's going to happen after 2 weeks. Well, I'll put this one on. This is the next one right here.
Well, things are changing daily in this country, and in the world. It's kind of hard.
Insane.
Huh?
It's insane. So, okay, one of the girls she didn't do the podcast yesterday, but she was she was my corporate headshot in the morning, and then she wanted to participate in the Beautiful Strength Project. So she's a girl, she has a mirror facing backwards. She talks about reflection. So she studies astrology. Like, she's really psyched about it. So she was like, some of the things that she said, like, as a Pisces are supposed to be like having this really great year of like philanthropy and humanity and like all of these things. And I was like, whoa, it's super weird. And then she was saying, though, how like scientists have prepared for 2020, like with the way that whatever's in retrograde and Pluto and all the things. And like when she was saying it sounded like, coming out of me, I don't know what I'm talking about, but coming out of her, I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, that's really interesting. But she was like, yeah, so prepare yourself because it's supposed to get worse. And I was like, what? I'm like, how can I get any worse? But she was like, yeah, it's probably, and this is as things as like fires, earthquakes, like things that not necessarily pandemic was kind of put on top of there. And then these are zodiac astrology stuff, which even like she was saying like all the different horoscopes of like, or the star signs of like the people in politics. And I was like, that's really interesting. But yeah, she was like, just prepare yourself because it's not over yet. There's probably going to be even more stuff. And I'm like,
oh, handle anything else?
Yeah, I was like, what? Like, sharks are going to come on land? I don't know. Like, what's going to happen?
My boyfriend sent me a post today, like early this morning. He was like, well, that's it. There's an asteroid on its way to Earth. And I was like, oh my God.
Are you serious?
I don't know. I didn't look it up because I'm afraid to. And I love looking shit up. Stop.
Right.
Sorry.
You could say shit. You could say it. That's terrifying. Like, where's it going to hit? Like, where do I have to go so I don't get hit by an asteroid? I would imagine if it was like literally about to hit us, it would be all over the place and we'd have to like duck.
Yeah. on like I would have seen it on the news.
I don't watch the news. Look at my beautiful cup. Isn't it pretty?
I love that. It's really good.
Little fucking expensive, but this one she gave me for free. But I had some other ones made. I'm trying to so just to segue into fundraisers and everything else. So this one is a big one. These are like $50, so they're like not cheap. But I had her make a few small ones, and I'm going to, and then I have her making a couple specialty Atticus ones that are only going to be like a 2-run. As far as I know, they're pink. They match the bus. They're like white on top and pink on the bottom. And then they have like a unicorn sticker on the bottom. Then I'm going to try to do some sort of fundraiser probably in November, like is a basket. I'm going to see if I can get like donations from other places we can like almost like raffle it off. So that's in the works. And then one of the cool things that I did today is Amazon Smile. So to everybody out there who buys stuff from Amazon, which everybody does, there is this really cool thing. Like if you go up to like your name and then where it says your account and you scroll down, it'll say Amazon Smile, and you can search for Beautiful Strength. It'll say Beautiful Strength Nashville. If you select that, and then every time you go in to order anything from Amazon, like as long as it's under Amazon Smile, a percentage, I think it's like 0.05% of approved items, it will just automatically donate to our nonprofit.
Wow.
So yeah, and I set all the things up the other day. So Venmo, which is kind of funny. So Venmo that only lets you have one account per phone. And like my phone number runs the business, it also runs my business, and it also runs me personally. So our Venmo account, where it's at beautifulstrength_org, also if you want to donate, I have it to where I can separate that out to like my business bank, the nonprofit bank, and me personally. So we have Venmo now, we have PayPal now, we have, and I started a Google Docs to where it's tracking like every dollar that's in the account matches what's on that Excel sheet, or it's not Excel, sorry, the Google Doc. But the Amazon Smile is linked to that bank account now too. So I don't know if they deposit every day or if it's every week. I didn't look at any of that. I haven't ordered anything yet. But if you order from Amazon or have an Amazon account, you just have to set it up once, and then you don't have to do anything. Like you just log in and it's there. So that's pretty cool.
That's way super easy.
Mm-hmm.
And can make a huge impact.
Yeah. I freaked out the other day because I got a letter in the mail from the IRS. Anytime the IRS sends me stuff, I'm like, but it was like, if you don't submit your annual report they wanted it in April. Well, we didn't get our 501c3 until July. So I didn't know. And then they backdated it to when we applied for it. And they're like, if you don't do this within 60 days, you'll be like, liquidated or whatever it was. And I was like, oh my God, get on there. So did that. So we're still a 501c3, don't worry. But yeah, that was a little bit terrifying. But,
I want to segue into the world of Facebook.
Yeah.
First, you know how
the devil and an angel all at the same time.
How have you been kind of filtering through the chaos on Facebook and not getting upset and like just
not well?
But,
yeah. I will say, and I think I messaged you the other day because there was a post, and I have to be very careful because 1, I'm an empath. 2, I have a really hard time separating emotion from, like, I'll be having the best day ever, and then I get on Facebook and something literally triggers me, and then I'm upset about it. I want to retaliate, but I'm also, like, my initial thought is like, you're wrong, and I'm going to tell you. And then the second part of me is like, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. Everybody's entitled to their own Facebook. My stuff probably triggers them too. But it it is, it's very difficult because you'll see something and then I've gotten to the point where I'm not mad anymore. I'm just trying to find the humor and the joy in it. But then I'm also like, okay, I'm instead of starting to post things from an angry point of view, I'm going to start posting things from a good human point of view. So like no matter what side of politics or what side of whatever you're on, I think I'm just going to start showing good in humanity. So like even like the kidney donor who is a Trump supporter, the recipient was not. And so like that's good. Like it's here's the two divided sides and something good came out of it. When that's not the reason that it happened, but something good, you can find good in those people too, and both sides. So it is very hard. Like I'm not giving up on posting things that I feel are beneficial for humanity. I don't think that obviously of who I support or don't support, but I'm also like I'm trying not to be on it as much and actually go out and have organic relationships with people instead of being like, here's what everybody should be doing. I'm trying to actually live through my actions and like post what I'm doing and not sit on Facebook stewing at people because I don't handle it well. How about you?
Same. I mean, I'm actually pretty good at separating what happens on Facebook and filtering through the people that say certain things that do bother me, and not. I'm good at separating that from my day. But you know, I can just talk about a current, like a recent experience that I've had. As I've made it clear before that I'm very active with the movement of supporting Black lives.
Mm-hmm.
And in my history, I feel like the reason why I'm really happy to be part of Beautiful Strength is since 2006, if not before, I've spent a lot of my time, you know, helping out with food drives and backpack drives and coat drives. And I used to, every 6 weeks after I started doing hair, I would go to the local women and children's shelter and donate haircuts, because everyone knows that there's nothing better
Mm-hmm.
or nothing that can make you stand taller than looking fresh and feeling your best. And I think that was a really good booster for these women and children to like a reset button to help start over. And you know, then we going on mission trips to different countries. You know, I keep these things very like, these are big deals to me. And I find that on Facebook, because and I know that you can you feel this as well, we have such a diverse friends group. And really, so I feel like sometimes it does come down to their politics. Um, I have found that there are people that after I post something about Black Lives Matter, um, that there's so many other hashtags that what I'm seeing is people are posting these hashtags under, these are people that I know, these are my friends that would post a hashtag that is not any less important than the Black Lives Matter movement, but it's done in such a way that it seems like it's their form of opposition towards my post.
Right.
I think like I just want to like yell as loud as I can that everyone is allowed to be passionate about one specific thing or multiple things. And I think that, you know, Beautiful Strength is not dedicated or to one exclusive movement. We are constantly finding new people that need help in all different types of backgrounds, religion, sexual orientation, race. Um, and it derails me a bit. I get a little bit sidetracked by these things. You know, most recently there's the Save Our Children hashtag. And I absolutely 100% believe and understand that child and human trafficking is a serious problem in the United
But it's not a
States.
backlash to a
It's
Black Lives
not.
Matter. Like it should, they're two separate things. They are
They're
not the same thing. And they are
exclusive.
not like, oh, Black Lives Matter, children's lives matter. Like they're separate issues.
They are of equal, if they are of equal importance.
Right.
And I just don't know how to make that so clear that
Right.
I also believe. So just to clarify, I
Did some research.
did a little research, and I
I love you for that.
want people to see this from two angles. If you want to support Black lives and Black children's lives, there are plenty of charities, rather than posting on Facebook, because I think I'm going to just like tread lightly on Facebook, because what I'm doing in my everyday life is more effective than what I'm getting upset about on Facebook. So this is just one local organization that I'm focusing on. And I've decided I have these Black Lives Matter rubber bangles. And these are at my station at the salon. So there will be a minimum donation of $10 for a bracelet, and all of the proceeds will go to my block, my hood, my city, and they offer opportunities for young people in under-resourced neighborhoods to access amenities not typically available to them. The program encourages youth to experience different neighborhoods, cultures, and cuisines. Also offers opportunities for young people to get involved in STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math programs. They volunteer in civic engagement and community development. They also help out seniors by handing out masks and gloves. And in June, they held a peace march and fed thousands of families on the south side of Chicago. So that's what I'm doing. I want
So
to
it's called My Block, My Hood,
my
City.
my city. And then there's another one that is for the LGBTQ community. This is a Black and trans-led LGBTQ center. It's called Brave Space Alliance, which is huge in my community. These people matter very much. If you look up the murder rate of Black trans women in the United States, and especially in Chicago, it's extremely high, and it's incredibly terrible.
So can you make a connection with them and set up a photo shoot?
Absolutely. But so on the other hand, I also want to include that child and human trafficking is also extremely important. And instead of being on Facebook, you can do things like organize protests in your community. You can start fundraisers, and you can donate money to organizations that train people to help fight and stop child trafficking and human trafficking in the United States, especially in your state, in your community.
Yes. So I want to add to that, because one of the girls that I interviewed yesterday, she brought up something to me that I didn't even think about. So she was like, all these people that keep posting on Facebook of like childhood or children being trafficked, or like children in like basically the photos. She's like, do you realize how traumatizing that is to somebody who's lived through that? Like you can put childhood trafficking, but it's like, it's kind of like the when you see the dogs and stuff that are, I don't want to compare children to dogs, but this is the conversation that we had. It's something that's very catching to people. And people think like, oh, if you show a kid in pain and in that, in, I don't even, it's not compromising, but like if you show them that way, like it's the attention getter, it's the advertisement, it's the thing that's going to make you want to be a part of it. And to her, and she works with trauma and she works with victims, and she's like, it is like reliving it. So even if you're in the moment or in like recovery or you're in survival, it's the instant you see that it's triggering. And she's like, we also need to focus on the healing part. And like, you as a person who wants to stop sex trafficking, you don't need to show graphic pictures and you don't need to speak about the graphic side of it in order to participate and help. And so think about people who are out there that are victims, like do the action side. Don't just post photos that literally could hurt people who are seeing them.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like, and I didn't really even think about that from my perspective. Cause like when I show a picture or like a kid or something like that, that I'm promoting, like, I would think that that's the thing that makes other people want to participate. But from a respect of a victim's side, I was like, I would have never even thought about that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, this is a little bit more to do with what some information about child and human trafficking, and also ways to help in your community. So for child trafficking, 1 out of 7 missing children in the U.S. are assumed to have been trafficked. California is the #1 state. In 2018, they had 1,507 cases reported. The other states that are the most popular are Texas, Florida, and New York. Now, those are states as a whole. There are other cities that have highest numbers that are not just in these states. Washington, D.C. is a huge one. So, that's scary. So there's a few places here that you can, if you see something, if you want to report someone that you believe is trafficking, or you see a situation where it might be a little bit iffy, there's CAST, that's CAST, that's the Coalition to Abolish Slavery and Trafficking. There is the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And then one of the most popular ones, the National Human Trafficking Hotline, and that number is 888-373-7888. So these are things that you can do in your community. Call to action. You can donate. You can create your own charity. I mean, there's so many.
A lot of people too, I think the things that people are posting are like, look at this famous person and look what they're doing, and look at this and look what they're doing. And be like, bring it into your own community. Like me personally, I'm not going to be able to go after, X, Y, and Z of who's accused of child trafficking right now. Like that's not, but in my own community, I can be effective and I can help somebody directly in my community. And then that spans out. So instead of us all putting memes and everything else out that are like, attack that person, like do something.
When they say it takes a village, right, to raise a child, mm-hmm. I know that, in our town of Lake of the Ozarks, my sisters are parents there. And my sisters are really good friends with a lot of the other mothers. And they're always watching each other's children in public, sports, any type of outing, if they're at the pool or whatever. Everyone's eyes are always on every child. So if that's something that you need to make sure is happening with your fellow parents, that's very important. That's something so simple that you can do in your own neighborhood, in your own community, is have a good relationship with other parents, that children go to school with your children. Make sure that everyone's checking in on everyone. And, your danger, that was the whole thing when we were kids, have your kid. Don't let your children trust people that they don't know. Like there's so many ways to help prevent something that is so terrible that could happen to our children.
Right. internet access and everything. Like, yeah, it's heart-wrenching. And like, I've worked directly, there's two different divisions here. There's the Center for Tennessee Anti-Trafficking. Oh gosh, now that my brain's not working. And NHAT, which is they're both sex trafficking related. And I've worked with both of those. I wanted to do a photo shoot with them last year, but we wanted to keep names. And then I did one with one group, and it was private. It wasn't stuff that was publicly posted. But yeah, it's like get involved directly.
We all have so much free time right now too.
So much. And a lot of it too, though, if you don't have time and if you have money, money goes far. Like donating money to places, especially if it's nonprofits, or especially because that money can be distributed out to other things. So yes.
I'm glad I got that off my chest.
It is. And in a kind and loving way,
Yeah.
like
yeah.
I feel like a lot of the stuff that's on Facebook and stuff right now is very argumentative, like, you're wrong, right. I'm right. And I'm like, can we all just take a step back right now and just look at it from a whole and say, these two things are very important and they should be fought for. And then you should fight the things, not each other. So yes, I'm glad you brought that up.
Well, I think one of the cool things also about being part of Beautiful Strengths is that, knowing that we have the ability and will create action for all of these different reasons, child, human trafficking, these are very big issues that I don't take lightly. Right. I know you lightly. And when we have the opportunity, we will jump on it. And now we know, right? We know that there are ways that we can help out, and I know that we will do that. So I don't sweat too much about it, because I'm like, yes, you know what? I see that and I want to know more about it, and I want to do something about that as well. Mm-hmm. And I'm grateful to have now in my 30s the capacity to acknowledge that there are multitudes of issues where people need assistance, and I'm grateful to be part of this, knowing that I can help. So
yeah. Oh, yeah. So I love it. So about another thing, and without this, I don't want Beautiful Strength to be political, only because I feel like it's a global movement versus just a United States based thing. But that said, I do want to talk about voting.
Yes.
And how important it is to vote, even though as a person, so I am now 40 and I've voted once in a presidential election. And I think I voted like once in like a local thing or something. I did actually vote this last primary though. So like 2 weeks ago or a week ago. But a lot of my like not voting has been like, I've struggled between, well, I don't know the candidates. I don't understand what they're actually for. Or like when I went in and they're like, and you have to pick if you're voting Republican or voting Democrat, which I thought was complete crap. But like this election coming up, and not even just that it's a United States based election, but like looking at the entire world and being like, wow, there's countries that don't allow you to vote or don't allow women to vote or are not democracies. So give me a couple of your opinions on the importance of voting.
Well, what you're talking about voting in the primaries, this is actually the first time that I've actually done my research and paid attention, because of what I realized that I hadn't even put really the thought to or before is, especially after the pandemic and the lockdown, I realized how vital it is to vote for your local
Mm-hmm.
politics. Sometimes more important than our national representatives. State is very important. Our cities are very important. Our aldermen are very important. These people are who make the changes, the immediate changes that we're looking for to help clean up our neighborhoods, to help represent our neighborhoods, to help bring money to our neighborhoods. So yeah, it's extremely important. And I felt so good after doing just that little bit of research and finding out who is best to represent me and the needs that I have and my coworkers have and my friends and the people around me in my community are really focused on. So, and then ultimately voting for our president at this very moment, listen, I know that this is not a reflection on Beautiful Strength. This is a reflection on me. I am a gay man. And I do not feel that our president is representing me and the people that are close to me and the people that I represent. So unfortunately, it's really important to vote.
Right. And I love your shirt. Right. What was I going to say? Oh, so and we just had the 100 years of women suffrage.
Yeah. So it's,
I'm going to do a shirt that's like, what does that say? Women's voting. Suffrage, right? Okay. Suffragette. Anyway, we just had that 100 years. Woohoo! And like in the past elections and stuff too, I've always been like, well, it's my right to vote, which means it's also my right not to vote. And so people are like, if you don't vote, don't bitch. I'm like, okay, I get that. I get that from a certain part, but it's also like, I didn't vote because I didn't feel somebody represented me, or I didn't vote because I couldn't choose the lesser of the evil or the one that was whatever. And then I saw somebody this time though that's like, it's not a marriage, it's a way to get somewhere that you want to go. Like, okay, who would you want there for 4 years to get to the next 4 years, or to get to even like the local government stuff. Like I didn't notice how, like when we had, and we both live in big cities, so big cities are a little bit different because you don't know your people. Smaller towns, usually you know who the mayor is, you know who the sheriff is, you know who the alderman people are, and you can vote, or state representative. Like here, I don't know any of these people, like personally, I don't know them. But there's a lot of information now online. Like before, you had to kind of like figure out like, what do these people really stand for? Well, now there's a lot of really cool apps, or there's like websites you can go to that literally have like, here's a little bio, here's a little bio. And it's great for people like me who don't really take the time to sit and read or to know. And I don't like watching the news during politics, because I'm just like, can we all just play nice? Can we all be truthful? Can we all actually say what we're really going to say and what we're really mean? So it's kind of nice to like just see a snippet. It's almost like a little miniature Wikipedia of like who the candidates are.
Those apps also, I you know how much I love to do research, and I forgot, I didn't know we were going here.
Sorry.
But there's a website, there's a website that will actually line up the candidates that are running for those local positions, and then based on their history, there is a citizens ranking. So if one particular person has ranked high in your community for doing the things that are best to represent your community, they give them a ranking between like 1 and 10, and it makes it almost completely effortless. Like if everyone, I always say this, if everyone thinks that you're a good person, the chances of you being a good person are pretty high.
Mm-hmm.
If everyone thinks that you're a bad person, the odds are not in your favor.
Nice. Yeah. But even like, I don't know. It's just it's definitely, it doesn't take a whole lot of time. If
Mhm.
somebody needs, I thought about doing if the bus could handle passengers, I was gonna like be like, hey, if there's communities where it's hard to vote or you need a ride, but even on, I plan on taking November 6th,
Fourth.
November 4th. I needed to look it up. I was like, can I pull up my calendar? I
I
plan on taking that day off and just being like, if people need rides, here I am. Or I could go into the communities that are not as affluent and be like, do you need a ride? Do you need to go vote? I will take you.
I have to double check because I actually
You said it with such confidence. Are you not sure?
I know. Well, I think it is. Well, I took off. I closed the salon that day so that everyone has the ability to go do that.
Exactly. I think that's awesome. And the word alderman, I'm going to have to look up exactly what that person does because I know friends of mine that have ran for aldermans or have been aldermans. And I'm like, ooh, you were actually more important than I thought.
I'm confused now.
Well, there's like mail or not mail in. There's early vote, which is what I'm going to do.
November.
November 3rd.
I feel so dumb.
You can't know everything off the top of your head.
Well, I know now, and I won't forget.
November 3rd.
Presidential election, November 3rd, 2020.
I have it on my refrigerator. I have like, this is the first year that I've been really actually paying attention to stuff. And then I have a guy that's going to be on the podcast. I need to connect with him. He's wanted to be on the podcast for a while, and some of me is like, I'm not smart enough to keep up with your conversation because he does a thing that's all about voting and all about uh, just the importance of voting. And when I had like a minor conversation with him, I was like, dude, you are so above me in your terminology, but I want to put him on. But same thing, like, I am not saying beautiful strength is not for Republicans. I'm not saying beautiful strength is not for conservatives. I have conservatives in my family who highly support what we're doing because they love other people. I'm not saying that like conservative Republicans don't love other people at all. Like they do. I'm just more liberal.
Okay, I have something
It
very
doesn't
important.
necessarily make me a Democrat either. But
This is the elections are held on Tuesday.
right.
Okay, so in 2017, the election day was November 7th. 2018, it was November 6th, and 2019 was November 5th. So
So it's always the first week. Isn't
it's
your
that
birthday November 5th?
November 12th.
12th. Okay.
Yeah, so it's that first Tuesday of, well, whatever.
Of November.
Yeah.
November. So anyway, there's your public service announcement from Beautiful Strength. No matter where you are in the world, take advantage of voting.
It is your right.
It is your right. Use it.
Across the board, you're right.
But don't go in. Okay, I will say too. So when I voted on this primary the last time, and it was like, okay, cool, you can only vote Democrat or you can only vote Republican. I felt really weird when I walked in there because they're like, and pick one of these, and they put it out, and I was like, I don't want to. And they're like, you have to. And I'm like, I don't want to. I shouldn't think that should be a private choice. And then now I'm like, the people behind me now know what I chose. And I'm like, this is like really weird. But I will say some of the people's names who came up, I had no idea who they were. And I'm like, I don't know who to vote for on this because I didn't research this person. And then you're like, you're stuck because you can't go forward until you choose somebody. And I'm like, what if I choose the wrong person? And then they don't have any bio thing. You can't use your phone while you're in there. And I'm like, ugh. Like, and that's horrible.
It's unfortunate that it's bipartisan because you have to choose one side or the other. And I don't think that that's necessarily fair. And I think that's actually the beginning of the cause of a divided nation. Mm-hmm. So if it should be, not everyone leans all the way left or all the way right. There are a lot of people that are right in the middle. and they should be able to say, hey, this person really represents what I believe in, and they're a little bit maybe to the right, and these are my conservative views, but then I have social views that I think are a little bit more to the left, and this person represents me that way.
Right.
That is how you find a nice, comfortable middle ground. And
Right.
and it's not there. It's not there. And anybody that runs like the green ticket, libertarian, nowhere in history have those people won. You know, they've had to
Right.
switch to a Republican ticket, and it's just not conducive. Like, it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah, I want the best person, and then I want the best person that I've researched, which they told me, like, the guy was really nice, because obviously you could tell I was a little bit of a newcomer, because the last time I voted was when Obama ran for the first time, so that was quite a while ago. And so I like walk in, and one, they're super fancy, like machines and everything. You put your stuff in, and then they clap for you when the ballot like gets dropped or whatever. And I was like, this is like weird. But I mean, he had to have thought that I was crazy, because one, we're all in masks, and then I'm coming up, and like, you know, you have to sanitize before you go in. You pick up a pencil, and then they're like, choose one. And then I was like, I don't know. And he looked at me like, what is your problem? And I'm like, do people just do this like nonchalantly? Like, oh. And so I was like, well, can I do it without that? No. So I can't vote unless I choose one of these two. I'm like, he's like, in the primary, that's how it is. In the regular election, you get everything, everybody or whatever. And I was like, okay, this is all stuff that I should, like, I've never really looked at the whole voting process. And now I'm kind of interested, because like, when people talk about the electoral vote, I'm really confused, because I'm like, wait, so you can win the popular vote, but not actually win the vote, and you could become president even though you didn't win the popular vote, but you won the electoral. I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, it's very confusing. So this has definitely been a year of growth for me. And I can only imagine like people who are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, or people who have given up on voting in general, or like, I don't know. It's a very empowering thing to know that your vote counts, but then it's also very like, does it count? You know, because I have a lot of friends that are like, well, I just live my life and I don't pay attention to politics. And I'm like, I could see that was how I was. And now I'm like, okay, like laws literally are affecting people that I know. What can I do to help change that, or like put some effectiveness on it? So anyway, I don't know where I was going with that, but that's it.
Vote matters. And I think I'm hopeful in the future that the electoral vote is no longer a thing. I feel like our whole lives we've experienced and we've learned that whoever receives the most votes is the winner. And that's not necessarily the case with the electoral vote. And I don't think that it's another thing that's just not fair.
Yeah. Which is weird, because I've had people try to explain it to me, and I'm like, I don't get it. I'm like, so you can have 20 votes and the other person only has 5, but because this is a bigger state, then that state like works for more. And like, somebody's going to probably like call in. Well, nobody's going to call in. This is a podcast. Somebody's probably going to message me and be like, you are so dumb. Like, here's how this works. And I'll be like, please explain it to me, but use a pie chart or a picture or a graphic or something cool. Not elephants and donkeys or whatever it is. Like, I want butterflies and rainbows. No,
well, how about the ultimate message here is that it's just important to vote, right?
It's important to have an opinion. It's important to like know your core values and what you support and the people that you support, and know how you're affected. And like I said, I'll be the first to say I've lived my life, and every time, it's mostly president stuff, like when presidential elections come up, is like, you know, oh cool, my entire family and friends are all divided right now and everybody's arguing, and every channel you turn on, it's a debate or a crappy commercial about this person wants you like to not have rights, and this person wants to likes abortion. This person wants to take your guns. And I'm like, come on, guys. Like, let's all see through the bullshit and let's like actually vote for people who like on page 99, article 20, where it's like something that affects me, like know that stuff. So, woo!
Are you glad
Sunday
you got?
snack. What?
I said, are you glad you got that off your chest?
I am, yeah.
What do you think? Should we move on to our kudos?
Kudos. Yes. You want
You
to go first or me go first? I'll go first.
okay? You go.
Okay, my kudos. I have two. One for the firefighters that are fighting fires in California right now and in Colorado. Thank you, because I didn't even know they were in Colorado. So you told me that. As somebody, I used to live in California, so every time they come up, it is like businesses, houses, homes, and then there's just people that are putting their lives on the line to help other people. And then also, I want to say a major kudos to Jacie Fouts. She is the kidney donor. She literally gave up a kidney to a person she didn't know halfway across the United States. So she's from Arizona, and the recipient's from Tennessee, and they didn't even know him, and came all the way, gave up parts of her life right now. She had a longer recovery than expected. I was supposed to have lunch with her today, and then I ended up getting called in to shoot a wedding. So I'm having lunch with her on Monday, and I'm wanting to photograph her and get her in the podcast too.
Yeah.
But big kudos. I mean, literally helped save a man's life. Like, how cool is that?
Yeah, I was wanting to snap too. I'm like, yes.
I clap. Like, let's snap. Cool. Okay. And
Wow.
yours?
So cool. Mine are like, I told you I like watching the news. I watch it every morning. Sometimes it drives me crazy, but sometimes it's also really, I get to see some really cool things happen. And the reason why I've chose this person is because they are from my home state of Missouri. So let me tell you a little bit about Sydney. Sydney Keys III. He's an 11-year-old from Hazelwood, Missouri. So he loves reading, but he had a hard time finding. He's Black, by the way. He's had a hard time finding African American literature until just last year, and he found a bookstore that actually had a focus on African American literature. So he decided that because he had such a hard time finding it, that he was going to create a program called Books and Bros.
How
For
old
boys.
is this man or kid?
He's 11 years. So this is for boys between the ages of 8 and 12 that focus on African American literature and culture. It's a book club. And today he has more than 50 members. They meet each month to discuss their featured book and learn from older mentors. You can actually adopt a bro if you want to help Sydney. And you can adopt them. You can adopt children that need financial assistance, and you can find his website at books, the letter N, bros.com. It's a super cute website. I checked it out. Oh my God, it's the cutest thing. And at the very top, there's a black button that says adopt a bro, and you can help these kids go and get the books that they're needing in their lives. One of the things I remember about growing up in school that I know now, and I wish that it were that I hope that it changes, and I hope that there's more literature than just what we were taught in school and what we were allowed to learn. There's so many things that I just didn't get to know. And I can't, as a white person, it probably was directed towards me. But I can't imagine growing up from a different cultural background and not being able to learn about the things that got you where you are, or the people that have made such great changes to get you where you are.
Well, even like if I look back and go through the list of children's books, Dr. Seuss books, children's books, any of the other ones, I can't remember that there's very many people of color, which I'm sure stuff like that has changed a lot now. Like books are probably more diverse for kids, but I mean, an 8-year-old, that's still a kid. Like I can't remember what I was reading at that point, but I would be interested to do like a search to see like what they're reading.
Yeah.
And be like, ooh.
Well, I remember.
Maybe I see a donation coming up.
Yeah. Up the bro.
Well, we could always go. I know To Kill a Mockingbird has the main characters are white, but it is a story about diversity and is a story about acceptance and doing what's right for who's right. It's a killer book. It's awesome. Maybe we'll donate some Atticus books or something else that they would rather enjoy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think this.
Your
going
face
through,
was like,
No, it's good.
You did a face like, no, that's not what this is about. This is not what
we have to make sure that, well, yeah, I mean, if we are going to, if anybody wants to adopt a bro, I'm sure that there are ways for, maybe if you want to, my grandma, I always think back, there's lots of charities or lots of foundations, and there's people that understand the process, and we believe that, we know where the money goes. We know who it's helping. Transparency is important. And there's always people that are not always certain, right? And that's always been a gray area with bigger charities.
Right.
Is all going where it's supposed to go? Are these people all being helped the way that we're intending on them being helped? And it always reminds me back to my grandmother, and my sisters and I joke about how we would walk. This is an interesting thing, actually. We would walk into her house, and there'd be all these kids' pictures on her refrigerator. And we're like, Grandma, all these kids. And she was like, oh, those are just kids that I send money to. And I'm like, so they're like our cousins? And she's like, oh, no, these are kids in different countries that I'm helping supply food or like giving them clean water, things like that. My grandma did it for like, I don't even know how long, but she would always be apprehensive, right? And I remember when she was in her it was probably late 80s, she was telling me that she just wasn't sure anymore if those kids were getting the money. So she called that charity. She told them that if that money's not going to those kids, then you're going to go to hell. And they promised her that it's going to the kids.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Oh, we're gonna go see Grandma and her cousins. Calling her. But I'm sure that, with that being said, I'm sure there's a way if you wanted to, donate a book or, something other than money. There's always a way to assist in organizations like this. That it's not just fun. So, but this kid, he's super cute. He's so like pumped up about what he's doing, and I see that his parents are really promoting it too, and it's a really great thing. And I think, especially at small town Missouri, these aren't things that he has easy access to, so
right,
really cool. And that's my kudos.
That's your kudos. I love it. All right, well, that wraps another episode of Sunday Snacking.
I love talking to you. I feel like these are so important, right? Like,
I know. I love them. Okay, say goodbye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.